Good morning. It is great to get to see all of you again. And I was first introduced really to the magnitude of this job at the August CPM training when we were given a task that asked us to take the area that we are responsible for and to calculate how many churches would be needed if there were 100 people in your church for that area, and then to take the same area and if each church were 10 people. I quickly discovered that if it were the 10 people with the worship groups in those, that for the region of the world that Rod and I have, it would take 350 million churches or worship groups. Therefore, the task ahead of us is great. It is large. It is challenging, and it also means partnering in tremendous ways. But we are excited about what is going on. I took my first tour trip with Bill this fall, and I think the one of the first stops was in the Philippines, and it is amazing what has happened within the last year to year and a half in the Philippines with the movement of OMS basically beginning the many of the steps to I wouldn't say withdrawing from the Philippines, but from the primary roles. The last major primary role that a missionary is holding is that of the president of the national church. And in April, Brent will no longer be standing for election to that position. And at the general conference, they will be electing their first president, really. So that is exciting. The Philippines will be very interesting to as we develop what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be functioning in the Philippines. There is still a need for M's there, and we intend to be helping to branch out into other areas as needed, but it will definitely be under the supervision and the drive of the Philippine church there. We did have a time in Korea to start things off. Exciting time there, getting to be a part with our illustrious president, and as he was given an honorary doctorate by the seminary there. That was a wonderful occasion. And it has been one of the most fun parts of this job, and one of the most enlightening and satisfying has been to work with, and I'm changing names here on purpose, with Chang, who has been I really believe a man sent by God for that hour, in discussions and implementing the church multiplication strategy council commission there. He has done some things that I believe not necessarily not looking at the good for the Korean field, not trying to fulfill their expectations, not necessarily trying to fulfill all of OMS's expectations, but led by God to really get things on the straight and narrow for what we in OMS were really hoping would happen. And so we will, I believe, miss him greatly as he goes back to his country. Japan. Japan is a country in tremendous need. I was instructed by some of our retired former missionaries that it would be impossible to change it, so don't try to go in and change the country. However, it is the Japanese church themselves that are asking and begging for the change and asking for help from OMS to do this. Now, it will have to be done very methodically. It will have to be done in Japan's way, but they see that if they stick with, well, some of them do, if they stick with the traditional methods and the traditional thinking, that they are condemning many of their people to an eternity without Christ. And so there is a desire for a change. So really pray for the team that are going to be putting together and implementing CPM in Japan. This is an exciting day for that. Also, the OMS, there's been a change in legal status, and OMS is now a church in Japan. And to do that, OMS has to have a church as well. So on the main compound, a church has already begun, and that has to build up at least to 50. Of course, I looked at that and said, well, why not 500? And then began to find out how many of the churches do not have 50 in them. So it will be exciting for the team there. Again, funding is very difficult for Japan. So, but Japan, tremendous things need to be and can be done there. In HK, the UWGI is growing both in number, quality of students, and its influence also with EA. Taiwan, this is an exciting time there with the purchase of the tea house property and the process. I see Rod coming and going, headed there, going to something like that, and different things that are coming up and developing. But one of the most exciting aspects of that is the new seminary board. The trustees are bringing some expertise that will be a tremendous, tremendous asset. For instance, the former board chairman of Taiwan's largest bank, the Bank of Taiwan, is a member of our seminary board. Also, the CEO of a chemical company that had several billion in sales last year is a member of our board. And by the way, both of those are members of our churches there as well. So praise the Lord. Could have used a few of those in the past fields that where God had us. With India, India is always remarkable in their foresight and what they're planning to do for the future. We're very excited about that as well. But as we looked at this last night, I sat at the table talking with our family, and I most put on the table, I said, how the work is in Asia Pacific. I said, if it measured from the table to the ceiling here, I feel that I can handle approximately that amount, approximately an inch to an inch and a half off the table. And I put my hands down there, and my son Scott promptly said, well, Dad, I guess Jesus will just have to do the rest then. Jesus and praising the Lord. My wife sees the need for the teaching and the training, and she has applied to and been accepted by Asbury Theological Seminary to do her master's in theology. So you are never too young to start studying and to continue studying. There is much more, but that's all our time. Thank you. Any questions?